topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Oh, boy, do we have a great show for you this morning. You know, the subject matter is probably not the best, but when you got a solution that's in taxation solutions, you know you've got a great show. Let me introduce you. A long time, maybe my longest guest, Barry Fowler. Good morning, Barry.
Hey, good morning, Steve. How are you today?
I'm doing good. You know, I noticed that and if you're watching us, we're doing a scroll down at the bottom of the picture, and it says Trucker Tax Tools. Barry, that is genius, because I know truckers out there are probably the worst when it comes to doing their taxes because they're busy running goods throughout the United States.
Absolutely. Truckers themselves have more tax problems than most industries out there. These owner-operators are out there running their trucks and don't have time to keep track of their income, their expenses, who's filing, how they're filing, and then they don't make their estimated tax payments. They just can't get around to doing it, and they end up owing a lot of money. I mean, it's most like any other independent contractor out there. When you first get started in business, you don't realize that you've actually got to keep track of income and expenses and make sure you're getting every deduction you can, and then file it correctly in your tax return. And when you get set up in business, regardless whether you're a trucker or independent contractor, nobody tells you one of the biggest things to save you at the end of the year is making some estimated tax payments so that it lowers that tax burden when it comes to April 15th. I mean, you go into business and you make money, and all of a sudden you don't realize that nobody else is withholding payroll taxes, federal withholding taxes, Social Security, Medicare, all that stuff, and it all adds up. And now you owe $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, and you don't have the money to pay it because you've been making all your other payments and your bills and everything else out there. And you say, I'm not going to file. So we see this big snowball effect happen, not just with truckers, but independent contractors across the nation. And, you don't file that 1 year, IRS doesn't come after you, you hold off and you go to the next year, they haven't contacted you and you hold off that year. Now you went from 20,000 to 40,000 plus interest and penalties. Now you're at 50 or 60,000. That snowball just keeps getting bigger and bigger as it rolls down that hill. And it's time to actually do something about it. Let's stop the IRS from taking every dime you have. And let's put some kind of solution in place. And that's why we have taxationsolutions.net, is to save you from that snowball that it's going to eat you up as it's rolling downhill.
Barry, I got to tell you, you've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing the show for a long time. And I've seen over the years companies that promote tax relief. One day they're in business and the next day they're out. You've been doing this for such a long time, which is such a feather in your cap because, you're in a tough business. and people really have to trust you, and you have to rely a lot on word of mouth. And it's amazing how you have, I'm not shocked either, you have survived this because you do such a great job for your clients.
Steve, we've got A+ rating at the Better Business Bureau, so we're very proud of the fact that we maintain that rating. We treat our customers as we want to be treated. We take care of them. We're in contact with them, every month to let them know where we're at with their case, how things are progressing. We don't always get the solution that we think we can get. We do the majority of the time. And, a lot of it depends on the client, the taxpayer that we're representing. Are you going to be totally 100% honest with us and tell us everything you got? We're seeing that it can happen for us representing and negotiating with the IRS on your behalf is going in there with a half-loaded gun. And, some of those bullets maybe that you gave us were blanks and have big surprises for us when we hit the IRS. You own some other property and you didn't tell us about it. Or you got rid of property within the last year or two and took the money and did other things with it. And the IRS will find all that stuff. So you have to kind of help us load that gun with the right ammunition and be able to strike back at anything the IRS is going to come at us with. So we know how to deal with those issues and those problems, because the IRS, they are the largest and biggest, baddest collection agency in the world. And they've got a lot of power, which means they can find everything that you're trying to hide. And, then we haven't disclosed it. We don't know about it. It's really hard to defend that.
Barry, tell me the difference in somebody trying to handle themselves, their tax problems, versus taxation solutions, handling their problems for them.
100% knowledge. I've been doing this now since I've been knee-high to a grasshopper. We don't really want to talk about how long that has been, we've been fighting the IRS, and, we help our clients, through every one of the issues with the IRS. And, when you're sitting down and dealing with them, you got to know not just how to talk to them, but you got to know the law behind it. You've got to be able to go through and tell them, hey, this is wrong and this is the code section, because they have a lot of new people working there. It doesn't mean they know what they're doing. They absolutely don't. We've had to train some along the way as we go. And you and I have talked about these things, and I have fun doing it and schooling some of these new IRS agents that have no clue. But, the big thing is you got to understand what they're asking and the questions they're asking and the way they ask it. And then you've got to tailor your response to fit what they're actually looking for or asking for. And then you've got to also stay within the law as it is in the Internal Revenue Manual and Internal Revenue Code, and make sure that you've dotted your I's and crossed your T's. Now, we get a chance to do it because there may be times that we know what they're asking and we don't really want to answer it right then and there, and we can defer because we represent you. You put power of attorney in our hands where we step into your shoes. You don't have to deal with the IRS anymore. You don't have to answer their phone calls. You just tell them, hey, you talk to Mr. Fowler here at Taxation Solutions, and here's our number, 877-996-6477, and get off the phone with them. You don't have to do anything more than that. But when we're on the phone and, hey, we may not know how exactly we want to word something or how exactly we want to put it in the right light form, and we get to defer and say, hey, we'll call you back, and we can get more information from you, the taxpayer, so that we can put this in the right order so that we can save you from what the IRS is trying to put in place for you, or get your offering compromise approved with the IRS. And that's the advantage of having somebody that steps into your shoes representing you like we do versus going it alone. Yeah, you can go it alone. I've seen people do it, and hey, they can get it done sometimes. Other times I've seen them just make huge messes out of it, and recovering from those messes sometimes is very, very difficult.
People don't even realize if they're trying to handle themselves, Barry, what information to give them and what information not to give them, because you've seen those people. They've come to you after trying to handle it themselves and screwing everything up and making your job even tougher.
I've seen it, where they've handled it themselves. I've seen it where they've gone to a few of these fly-by-night companies that profess to handle this, and they've really messed things up. For some of the real large ones that you hear on their national radio programs out there advertising that, hey, they're the best. People don't understand how difficult sometimes dealing with the IRS is in every situation. And people think, hey, anybody can handle this. No, you need somebody that has experience. We have trained, I have trained numerous enrolled agents that have worked for us, that have gone out on their own thinking they can do it on their own. But the guidance that we give them here is by far, I believe, superior than to anybody else that's out there. And we've helped people get into business and do tax business and some resolution work in some local environments where they're not dealing with people on a national basis as we do. And the information that we can give them and how we help our taxpayers, our clients through this helps them get the best settlement they can possibly get. Now, you call the big boys out there, I'll call them big boys, the people that, you hear, based on the settle for pennies on the dollar, and they're going to promise you the moon, the stars, and the universe out there, everything,
Yes.
just to get you to pay them to do it, where we're going to talk about your situation when you call us. We're going to analyze your situation when you call us and say, hey, this is reality. Not everybody can qualify for an offer in compromise. Not everybody is going to get a settlement on their tax debt. Everybody's situation is different. And just because you call this large company, you call one of the large companies out there and they say, oh yeah, we can get you an offer in compromise. But they didn't ask you any questions. They didn't know whether you could settle. They just, hey, it's what you wanted to hear. You sold it. You wanted the pipe dream. They sold it to you. You bought it. And sometimes that pipe is full of water or full of BS, and you're going to have to muddle through it. But as we look at it, we want to tell you the truth. We want to start you off on the right foot. Even if you don't like what we have to say, give us a call and give us a chance to talk about your situation. It's a free phone call. It's free consultation. All we want to do is be able to find a way to help you, whether you choose us or you choose somebody else. But it starts with that phone call. And you and I have talked about it. I can't give a solution. I can't give you help if you don't dial that number, 877-996-6477. Again, 877-996-6477. Or you can go on the web and find us at taxationsolutions.net or find us on Facebook. Message with us. We'll get in touch with you. We'll talk about your situation, and we'll give you that absolutely free consultation with you to figure out what's going to be the solution that you actually will qualify for, not what somebody else wants to sell you. Even if you choose not to go with it.
It's really, people don't realize these agents will act like they're your buddy, they're your friend, and all they care about, I don't care about you, they just want to get money from you. That's what their job is. And when you have someone like Taxation Solutions representing you, first of all, you no longer have to even talk to the IRS anymore.
No, hey, hang up the phone. Don't, just give them our phone number, give them our name, and say, hey, call Mr. Fowler. I love it when I get a client that tells me that. We've had IRS agents insist on talking to the client, and we go, absolutely not. It's in the Internal Revenue Manual right there. As soon as that power of attorney hits your hand, your only contact is supposed to be with me. Now, if I'm not replying to the revenue officer or not helping them and complying with the things that they say they need, they can go to you. But we always comply with what the IRS is. May not like the way we comply because we know more than they do. But they don't go to the client. I've had a new revenue officer that I dealt with in the last couple of months here that insisted that the client had to show up and had to call them and he had to deal with them. And I went, absolutely not. I'm the power of attorney. I can answer any single question you want. And if you insist to summons my client, which is fine, I can't stop you from doing it. My client will show up with me and he will say, introduce himself, and he will sit there and not say another word because I will answer every single question. Matter of fact, we'll send the client home because he doesn't really need to be here because I have not stepped into his shoes. And I wear good sized boots and I can deal with their crud every single day. And we know how to fight against it. And that's the beautiful part. We allow our clients to get some good sleep at night. The best part is it's not just the client that gets good sleep at night, their spouse does too. And that makes life a lot easier at home when your spouse can get some good sleep, not worrying, what's going to happen with the IRS. Are they going to take all my money out of my bank account right at the time paychecks went in? Are they going to, levy my wages? Those are the worst things that the IRS can do, and they do it at the worst possible time. How do you make a mortgage payment when, this Friday they're going to take every dime you just put in your account with your paycheck, and you can't stop it. You got to get in front of the situation. If you owe the IRS money, call us today. Let's get started on it. Let's have a conversation. We'll figure something out to where we can actually put a stop in place to stop the IRS today in their tracks and not levy your bank account, not garnish your wages or Social Security even. We've seen them do it all.
Barry, there's a myth out there, and I think you'll be able to explain it to people better. We were told that people who make $400,000 or more are the ones that they're really looking at. Is that true? Are they going after everybody?
Well, okay, so we got to put this in perspective. If you're a W-2 wage earner, most likely you're not running afoul of the tax laws out there. You're probably having enough money withheld from your check. If you're not, you're usually not going to owe, a great big sum because somebody else is pulling that money out. And so when they're talking about people that are making 400,000, you may not be netting from your business 400,000. You may be grossing 400,000, but you take all your expenses and you may be down to under 100,000. They're still looking at you because what they're looking at is 1099s that are coming in and you haven't reported, or 1099s that are coming in that are going to be that number over that 400,000. If you're running a small business, they think you are lying, cheating, and scamming them. Schedule C is one of the big hot buttons that they audit for at a higher rate than most other businesses out there. We've seen businesses that have been purely transaction-based with all credit cards, and they wanted to come in and assume that they were still collecting another 20% in cash, and they were hiding it. So we had to go back and prove that this was not a cash business at all. We had to prove that it was all done with merchant transactions. So the IRS has different audit techniques based on your industry, based on what you do. But that 400,000, they're using those numbers out there. But if you owe them money, they're going to work their way and come after you. And now that 10 or 15,000 that you actually owed way back when has snowballed because of interest and penalties, and it's just going to keep accumulating. It's time to get in and put some kind of solution in place. And if your income is that low, it's a great time to put that supplement in place and get rid of the debt, so you never have to deal with it again.
I think one of the scariest things Barry, you and I over the years have talked about so many stories. And a lot of times there's been agents that you knew more about the tax laws than they did. And you had to explain it to them. And
It gets
sometimes even
worse.
go to their supervisor.
It gets worse every year. You know, they get the new ones in. Now they're hiring all these agents, and they still haven't trained them all. And you know, we deal with it on a day in and day out basis. I think one of the not that this agent didn't know what they were doing. This agent was actually probably one of the best agents, and they really knew what they were doing. But they specifically dealt with truckers, and uh, talking with her, you know, we were having conversations and getting some settlements done and getting things in place for our clients that happened to be truckers, and she was dealing with them. And after we got all this stuff through, she admitted to me she was really excited working in the trucking industry and coming after truckers, especially, you know, those that owe money. And she would take vacations, and as she was driving down the road, she was actually looking for trucks for the taxpayers that were on her collection rolls so that she could actually repossess their trucks from them as she found them on the road while she was on vacation. Now, I know that's
Wow.
dedication to your job. I know she's doing her job as, you know, an IRS agent, and she's trying to recover money for the US government who's dead broke and deep in debt. But come on, take a vacation. Don't take your vacation searching for a trucker who's out there doing uh, his job to move goods for you and I all across this country. Yes, they have to pay their taxes just like every American has to out there. But you know, don't spend your off time just, you know, searching this out. So you know, at that point, I knew, hey, we've got to do something and put something in place to save these truckers and help them, you know, with their tax debts and get some kind of solution in place. So, you know, we do a lot for truckers in the trucking industry, owner operators all across the country. Now, Steve, you know, one thing we've always talked about, you know, here, you know, we can do service locally for clients. We do service nationwide. So if we're coming up on, you know, holidays and everything else, when you're sitting around the table having dinner with family and someone says, hey, I owe money to the IRS, I know it's not a big topic of conversation. You don't want to talk about your debt with the IRS over holiday, but when you do hear that, give them our number because we can help people all across the country. I've got 50 offices around the country that are there to meet with the IRS and deal with the IRS. As things come up, I've got clients across the country, and anybody can call us toll free 877-996-6477. Again, 877-996-6477, or simply go to taxationsolutions.net. Fill out one of our contact pages, and we'll be in touch with you. We'd love to help you find a solution, or hey, tell you that maybe you can do it yourself. Even we've done that before many, many times, even with a friend of yours.
Yes. You know, Barry, you say about getting ahead of it. I'm going to tell you one way not to get ahead of it. When you put that unopened letter from the IRS and you stick it in a drawer, it's not going away.
You know, it doesn't work. It hasn't worked in years with any bills. You know, if you take your Discover card and throw it in the can, it's not getting paid, and you know they're going to do collections. IRS is the same way, but just a little bit worse because you can ignore those letters from the IRS, you know, for quite a bit of time, and then they're going to get your attention and they're going to levy your bank account, garnish your wages. We've even had retired people that they've garnished their Social Security. You don't want to be in that situation. You want to stop that snowball from rolling down the hill, and let us put something in place that actually will put a stop to that rolling snowball and a stop to that overpowering IRS that's just going to plow through you. And, you know, let you sleep at night and get some rest and take the stress and burden and the monkey off your back.
Barry, you are the best. Let's give people your phone number and website again.
Okay, that is 877-996-6477. Again, toll free, free consultation, 877-996-6477. And you can stop the IRS also going to taxationsolutions.net. And again, that's .net. Find us on the web, find us on Facebook. You can watch and hear these radio shows here again at Talk 4 Radio TV. And, I know Steve-O looks great on these things. So if you want to see our host, much better than us. But always my pleasure to be here with you, Steve-O.
We love having you, Barry. And Barry will be back again with us next month with more Ask the Experts. Thanks, Barry.
Thanks, Steve-O.
I'm telling you, Barry Fowler with taxationsolutions.net. It's the greatest feeling in the world not having to worry about your IRS problems when you secure Barry's services. It's a great feeling. Hey, that's it for us. We'll be back with you again next week with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.